Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning and taking part in our 9/11 ceremony. It's an important tradition that we hope to carry on. We had a wonderful turnout last year as we dedicated this beautiful memorial, and again, we hope to carry on that tradition, and it's important to have members of the community, such as yourselves here, to help us do that. So thank you once again. There's plenty of seats available. If anybody would like to come down front, sit down, feel free to do so. We like to keep it as informal as possible. We want to make sure everybody's comfortable. So please join us down front if you need to. Just like to take a moment to recognize some of our dignitaries that are here today. So I'd like to just thank the Town Administrator, Ms. Mallory Aronstein, for being here with us. We'll hear from Mallory shortly as well. We have a member of our Board of Selectmen here, Mr. Bob Medeiros. Mr. Medeiros, thank you for being here. It's very important to us. We appreciate you attending. Police Lieutenant Joseph Martin. We'll hear from Lieutenant Martin as well. I'd like to just thank all the members of the Swansea Fire Department and the Swansea Police Department for being here to help us remember those lost on 9/11. And of course, thank you to the members of the community for being here today as well to help us honor those lost. We'll try to keep the ceremony brief today. Again, I appreciate everybody being here. We understand that everybody has things to do. So thank you once again for being here. We gather to pay tribute to the 2,977 innocent lives lost in the terror attacks on September 11th, 21 years ago today. To some of us it seems like yesterday, but it's really been a long time, and I think it's important for us to remember that generation that has yet to bear witness to that, and really important for them to understand the impact of 9/11. 43 firefighters in New York City were lost that day. 37 Port Authority police officers. 23 New York City police officers. 8 EMTs and paramedics. And 2,566 unsuspecting civilians. Today we remember them, we honor them, and we never forget 9/11. At this time, I'd like to ask that everyone please stand as we lower the flag of the United States of America to half-staff to honor the lives lost, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance. So I could please have Sergeant Kevin Serpa, firefighter Nate Betancourt, please to the flag. As they approach, I just want to point out that these two gentlemen served their country during the War on Terror, and we thank them for their service. We appreciate them being here today.
Detail, present, out. Out.
Gentlemen, thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Members in uniform should salute. Members of the public are asked to please place their hand over their heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Out.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, at this time I'd like to ask our Town Administrator, Ms. Mallory Aronstein, if she would join us. A few remarks.
Detail, lower color.
Mallory, all yours. Thank you.
Good morning.
Arrange, right.
Thank you for joining us today. Remembering 9/11 is always so striking because September is a perfect month. It has perfect New England weather. It's the start of school and new beginnings. It signifies moving forward for enjoyable festivities. But that is all in stark contrast to September 11th, 2001. 21 years ago, those feelings came to a complete and total halt. And it was just so utterly shocking. The attacks derailed lives and futures, forever changing all who bore witness to the events, including me. And as a result, the meaning of 9/11 is deeply personal for everyone. I was in high school at the time, a junior, and I listened to the attacks unfold live on the radio and then watched them on TV in time to see the second tower fall. I was forever changed on that day. That day was a call to duty for those who responded immediately, like the fire companies and first responders and Good Samaritans in New York City, rushing toward the danger. Police and fire departments in the region all coordinated efforts to get to the site and help in any way they could. The call of duty continued to ring in the days that followed, spurring volunteers to enlist in the armed forces to serve their country. It called all Americans to be united. Patriotism and pride in our beautiful country swelled, and it was contagious. For me, at such a pivotal moment in my life, I heard a call as well, but it was one of helpfulness, kindness, and striving to make the world better than when I found it, to be resilient in all things. And thus my passion for public service was realized. I knew in those September days that as a citizen, being involved and understanding how my country operated and how it was perceived on the global landscape was integral to my future and that of America. I also was shaped by those incredible heroes on Flight 93 who willingly gave their lives in the protection of this country just by being regular citizens and doing the right thing. Though its reverberating sound has grown fainter these 2 decades later, the call of duty still rings. For a sense of pride in being an American, for volunteers for service and country, and for coming together to remember what happened, why it happened, and how to move forward together peacefully toward brighter days. Lieutenant Martin will now lead us in a short prayer of remembrance. Thank you.
Good morning. On this day of solemn remembrance, may we honor the lives that were lost in this tragic act. May we give thanks for those who served and saved, rendered aid and assistance. May we give comfort to those who live with loss. May we seek justice and peace where it is within our ability, and rely on you when the ability escapes us. On this day of solemn remembrance, may we build what has been torn down. May we mend what has been broken. May live your love when hate seems to reign. May we bear witness to the cause of peace.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I'd like to call on our keynote speaker, our Coordinator of Emergency Management, and unofficial Mayor of Swansea, Mr. Carl Sawayko. Mr. Sawayko?
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everyone. Here we are. First of all, I want to start by thanking all of you for attending this 21st anniversary of the attacks on September 11th, 2001. It's an important day for our community of Swansea to gather among friends, neighbors, and colleagues. And before I begin, I would like to ask for a moment of silence to honor those who lost their lives on that day and the many who died after that day from 9/11 related injuries. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't ask that you also remember in your moment of silence the passing of our Queen Elizabeth. So many folks from the UK were lost on that tragic day too, as the chief said, 93 countries. So let's take a moment and pause and reflect on all of those losses. Thank you. Today we pause to reflect on the barbaric attack that took place on 9/11. We remember the victims, almost 3,000 as the chief mentioned, from more than 90, I think it's 93 countries to be exact, who lost their lives at the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and in rural Pennsylvania. That day's forever seared in our minds and in our hearts, the pain, the terror, the tremendous loss of life, and the tremendous displays of courage that all people exhibited. Those in public safety, first of all, responding to that, but also the citizens, the workers, the people who were there, neighbors, friends, everyone who ran in to help, to try to do whatever they could do to avert that horrific tragedy. Nothing can change us the way we remember September 11th because it affected us individually, it affected us as a community, and I think, in fact, it affected us as a nation. We will always remember what life was like before 9/11, and we will always remember what life was like after 9/11. Mrs. Aronstein, our town administrator, put it most eloquently as she stated, as all of us feel, that day changed her life forever. She doesn't think the same way that she did before that tragedy happened, and she doesn't think the same way after that tragedy happened. For her and for many of us, this was a call to arms. It was time to say, wait a minute, I need to get more involved. I need to do something to try to make sure that things like this, these quote, days that live in infamy, Pearl Harbor, the shooting of John F. Kennedy, I could go on and on and on. These days that live in infamy. It's only if we get together as a nation, working with each other, in trying to use our intelligence and our abilities to make sure that these kinds of things are not allowed to happen again. If you think about 9/11 in its most simplest form, can you imagine how easy it was for them to commandeer planes and put them into World Trade Center? They did not need to have any special devices, any special crews, any special intelligence. They just did it. They took a plane, commandeered it, drove it into a building, killing everyone. Complete horror. But those are the kind of things that we need to be more conscious of as the years go on. And I think we've grown, and I think we've matured, and we certainly have put measures in place. If any of you try to travel anywhere, you know today you better leave yourself a lot of time or you're never going to get there. But those are the kinds of things that changed our nation. And you know, as I was looking for some ideas, I fell across something 21 years later. I can't believe it. There was a national study that was done after 9/11. And that study was to poll people and ask them two different things. First thing, they asked people how they felt. 71% of the population said that they felt depressed. 49%, almost half of everyone polled, said that they had difficulty concentrating. And 33% said they had trouble sleeping. Now, for those people that actually watched this unfold, and I'm sure all of us did, for those of us that are old enough, 92% of the people that watched this on television or on their devices said that they felt very sad about what happened on that day. 77% of those people said they were frightened to death to watch what they saw unfolding on TV. 63% of the people said they couldn't turn it off. They just couldn't stop watching. And it repeated, as you remember, over and over and over. They couldn't stop watching. And 45% of the people said they were completely exhausted from watching it. Just imagine what an impact that had on the nation. And you know, almost 3 generations have gone by in 21 years. I talked to Kevin, Mallory's young son who's in the 1st grade, and I said, Kevin, do you remember anything about 9/11? And he said, no, not really. And it's amazing. Last year when we dedicated the monument, they said that almost 25% of the people living today are either too young to remember or were not born for 9/11. That's very quickly climbing to 1/3 of the population. In just a short time, before you know it, half of the people will either not have had any knowledge of it because they were too young or weren't born yet. How time flies. But this is one thing that I know when somebody says 9/11 to me, I go all the way back to that day all over again. I was driving my parents to Green Airport. They were going on vacation. And we were hearing this unfold on the radio as we drove to Green Airport. And I said, Mom and Dad, we're not going to go. They're going to close the airports. They did close the airports. And my dad insisted that, no. He said, they're going to open them again. They're just doing this. Well, when we got to Green Airport, you couldn't get near the airport. And I said to them, quite frankly, I said, if you want, I'll drop you off here, but I'm not coming back to pick you up because I won't be able to. You're going to have to call a cab. That was the disbelief that permeated our country when this thing happened. And you know, it's something that will stay with us for the rest of our lives. Nothing we can say can replace what so many endured on that day as we changed as a nation. And we mark this anniversary by evolving, by learning, by remembering, and making sure that we can never let this kind of thing happen again. And if we do see terror, we must work very hard to disrupt it. I know it's an incredible responsibility and it's a big ask, but we have to do that. Otherwise, our country will be vulnerable. And we leave today with our thoughts about those who we left behind. Not only the victims of 9/11, but each and every one of those 3,000 people that died left family, left friends, and left a legacy on the lives of all of us. Today's the day when we need to remember them. And how best to remember these people? How do we do that? Here it is. I have been doing 9/11 memorial ceremonies, as you know, with my affiliation with Battleship Cove for 20 years. I can't tell you how many 9/11 monuments and remembrances I've visited. I have never, ever, not on the internet, not anywhere in our area, seen something of this magnitude. I had to go back because it's so particular and it's so involved to Chief Hayter's initial remarks in his introduction and invitation inviting us to this dedication. And this is what he said about the design of this. Look at this and listen. This design centers around two 11-foot lengths of steel rails that were donated to our town by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. These two rails ran beneath the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center and were recovered from Ground Zero. The rails stand inside of a limestone pentagon, remembering that place, ground zero of our country, where all those decisions are made in the Pentagon, a memory of that as well. And the rails stand inside of that Pentagon with blue stone pavers that are right here, that all of us will stand on. And those blue stone pavers represent Pennsylvania, the blue stone pavers that we pay tribute to those who perished at Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Limestone honoring the lives that were lost at the Pentagon, and the rails, the lives that were lost at the Twin Towers. And you know what's even more distinctive about this monument, other than any one I've ever seen? There's no piece of the Twin Towers. The Twin Towers are not there. You say, I can't believe that. But what is there are rails. Rails representing people. Those rails, I think our battery died. Those rails represent you and I. There are two of them. We walk together. We walk together in faith. We walk together in hope. And we walk together because we know we will help each other through good times and through bad times. I think that was significant enough to remind us. And the other piece of information, which is very mindful for us, is that our dedication took place following the years of the 9/11 attack. So on that first year when we dedicated it, at 20 years, we dedicated the monument. So at 21 years, this is our first anniversary, and you will always remember the anniversary of Swansea by looking at the digits of the years when we remember 9/11. In closing, I want to ask each and every one of you to be resilient, to be diligent, to never forget all of those public safety, the police, the fire, the medical, the emergency management, everybody that got together and helped to avert that tragedy and to try to put lives back together that were so terribly shattered. Never forget these people. Also, we need to remember our veterans and everyone else involved, including our future generations, to protect our way of life so that evil will never triumph. May God bless each and every one of you for coming here today, for remembering all of this, for honoring everyone, for honoring our town and our community, and for honoring yourselves. May God bless you, and may God bless America.
Carl, thank you very much. Yeah, I think we've lost our mic. But Carl, thank you very much for those beautiful words. Thank you, Mallory, for sharing your story. And thank you, Lieutenant, for helping us to remember as well. As we conclude our ceremony this morning, we would like to ring our 4-5s. The 4-5s is a fire service tradition of striking the bell signals when we have a loss of life in the line of duty. So at this point, I would like to ask Firefighter LaPointe to ring the 4-5s. Thank you, Mark. Well, that will conclude our ceremony for today. But as we end, I would just ask that each of us take a moment to remember those who died, those who served, and those who continue to carry on. And let us never forget that despite our differences, we are all Americans. And I think that's very important today, to remember that. We are living through some very difficult times. But today is the day that we should always remember that we are all Americans, and we share that. In closing, I would just ask, as Carl eloquently put it, please never forget. Never forget the events of 9/11. Never forget the sacrifices that were made. And never forget to continue to pass that on so it never happens again. Thank you again for being here today, for supporting our ceremony, for supporting those lives lost, for supporting each other. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, honor guard, at this time, you can retire the colors. Thank you. We will have refreshments available inside. Please help yourselves. We ask that everybody stay around, share your stories, and enjoy your beverage. Thank you very much.